Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be all about Morphe's new 35R palette. Morphe just decided to try to sneak a palette in there they thought we wouldn't notice, but I definitely did, and I had to put this on my channel. I've used this for a few days now and it's absolutely gorgeous. I decided that I had to make a tutorial as soon as I possibly could for you guys. Not only are the shimmers in here amazing, but of course the matte shades are too, and they included 2 satin shades. All of them are absolutely beautiful, and I feel like Morphe's formula just keeps getting better and better. Who else agrees with me on that? I'm not crazy, right? Hold up, I forgot to give you all of my other social media sites. If you guys want to follow me, I would absolutely love it. It means the world to me to get your guys' support. Also, it wouldn't hurt to subscribe, because why not? And you guys can get super fun tutorials like this from me at any given time, so you'll be notified right away. Without further ado or any blabbling, let's get right into the tutorial. Okay, the only thing that I have done so far is apply my brows. I do have a brow tutorial if you want to check that out and see how I get them. Before I do anything else, there has been something that I have been loving to prep my skin with even before I do my eyeshadow, and it's by a brand called Caudalie. I do not know how to pronounce that whatsoever, but it is a super hydrating mist. This is made with grape water and it soothes your skin but also just gives such good moisture. Ever since the Tarte Shape Tape came out, I have been using it for an eye primer. I've always done this with concealers, but you know, this just cancels out everything. This palette is so gorgeous. I mean, slay, honey. Look at that gold shade. I can't find it, apparently. But I mean, seriously, it's laid out so nicely too, because it has all mattes right here, except for these 2 are satin shades, and then all of the shimmers are laid out right there, and I love that. I just feel like, you know, it has a purpose and a plan instead of them just sticking shadows somewhere. And this formula, I've only used this like 2 times now. I feel like their formula just keeps getting better and better. I mean, who else agrees with me on that? If you guys have tried this, totally let me know in the comments. To set all of that concealer that we just laid down, I'm going to be using this yellow tone shade out of the palette. This is going to be like an amazing buffing shade and oops, I made a fucking mistake kind of shade. But for right now, we're just going to be setting our concealer with it. And do not be shy about this step. There's no such thing as using too much powder to lay down or to set your concealer, because it will help blend out the shadows later. For my transition shade, I'm actually going to be going into this shade right here. It's a really beautiful, just nice, warm, lighter brown tone, and I think it's going to be great to transition out what we're doing today. I'm actually taking the shade right above the crease and just really blowing it out almost into nothingness, but don't make it too light because you still want to be able to, you know, see that it's there. Now that I have this transition shade kind of to the depth that I want it, I'm going to go into this chocolatey brown, just warm, comforting tone, and I'm going to be putting that starting on the outer corner, but also blowing it out into the crease just for, you know, to get our depth game going on. If you need to, just go around the edges and buff everything out with that original brush. I don't have any extra product on this, but, you know, you don't really need it. For more of a crease color, I'm going to go into this shade right here, which is pretty much the first shadow in the palette. This is going to just kind of deepen up my crease and define where we put that transition shade at. I'm pretty much just using this shade to diffuse where we just put all of that shadow on the outer crease and make everything look fabulous and gradient. And I'm actually putting this above where my natural crease is, and that's because I have hooded eyes and I want them to... God, these are all so beautiful. I really don't know what to use on my lid right now. For the first couple times I used it, I used this gold shade, and it was everything. But I definitely want to use something different besides that today. I think I'm going to end up actually using all three of these shades, but focusing more on this copper tone for my lid, and that's what we're going to start with. I actually went in twice and built that up a little bit, but is that not gorgeous? Oh, so pretty. I'm actually taking this all the way into my inner corner pretty much too, and then meeting it up right where our darkest shade lays. A little trick I like to do to get it to blend better is I just kind of wipe my brush off on a paper towel so it's dry, and then I go back in with a teeny amount of shadow and then go and buff it up into my crease kind of so it actually, you know, blends, because if it's like super pigmented with all of that spray on it, you're not going to get it to like flawlessly flow as much, I guess. I'm actually going to take the same brush once again, just wiping it off on a paper towel. There ain't nothing wrong with that. And I'm going to go into the next darkest shade that I'm using, and it's this one right next to that amazing shade we just laid down on our lid. I'm taking just the teeniest amount of this and actually putting it right where the first lid shade ends, and this is going to be the start to gradually getting darker on our lid. All of these shades are definitely not necessary. I'm going to tell you that right now. You do not have to use 1,000,001 shadows to get a perfect look. I guess it's just because I'm a perfectionist and I like to just slowly build and slowly go from lighter to darker. And that's just my personal way of getting it as much to perfection as I can. For the last darkest shade, I'm actually going to be using this one to just kind of set off the row. I'm going to be using this little tiny detailer brush, and it's because I'm using such a small amount of shadow. One thing I do want to mention with these is, I don't know if you can tell, but I am getting so much fallout from this, and that is one reason that I always do my eyes first, and I don't care if people think I'm crazy for it, but you never know, and I would be pissed if I had foundation on right now because there's quite a bit of fallout. I'm mostly just focusing this on the lash line, honestly. Since there's so much shimmer on my lid right now, I'm going to be using, once again, this yellow tone white shade just a little bit under my brow bone with this Wet n Wild brush, which is supposed to be a smudger brush, but it works so good for a brow bone highlight. Like, oh, I love it. Oh, seriously though? I mean, that's a lot of fallout. Another little tip I have, I guess this is the tutorial of tips, but since I took a makeup wipe underneath my eyes, I'm actually going to go back in with like a teeny amount of eye cream. I'm using one by Be Bella, and this is just eye cream. Eye cream. I actually got this in my Ipsy bag, and I've been testing it out, and it's actually a really nice thicker formula, but that's why I'm only using such a small amount. I'm just going to hit my lashes with a little bit of a roller lash by Benefit. The lashes that I'm applying today are actually from Kiss, and they're just their Demi Wispy lashes. I already have these trimmed down because I've used them before. I'm going to go apply these off camera real quick because nobody wants to see anybody putting lashes on. If you do, I do also have how to do your lashes, how to and guide. I will, of course, link it below. So my lashes are on and things are feeling a little more structured. The next thing I'm going to go in with to prep my face is the Magic Lumi primer from L'Oreal. I used to use this all the time and I kind of strayed away from it, but now that we're getting more into the warmer months, I think I'm going to get back into this. I'm just going to dot it all over my face with my fingers. After that, I'm going to be a little extra and use something from a brand that I think just started to get into Walmart's. This is from the brand Caudilie, and they had a pretty extensive line. This is their hydrating setting spray. I've been using this for probably a week now, and I actually have really enjoyed it. And as you can tell, the main thing with my skin right now is it's super dry, so I'm just slapping on as much moisture as I can possibly get. And I love that this is a setting spray that helps moisturize your skin, because usually those are just like priming sprays. I don't know where my fan's at, but I'm using an Ulta magazine. Don't judge, don't hate. For foundation, I'm going to be sticking to something I know I love. It's faithful and good and trusty. You've probably heard me talk about this before if you've seen any of my other videos, and it is L'Oreal's Pro Glow and Total Coverage mixed together. So my daughter has 2 teeth coming through right now at the same time. And if you've heard any baby screams in the background, that's why she is having such a hard time right now, that poor little baby. Oh, I feel so bad. So as you saw, I used the Total Coverage first, and then I'm going in with the Pro Glow, so that way I can kind of target different areas in my face, because you know which parts are dry and which aren't. I really feel like the coverage on these 2 foundations is unlike anything else at the drugstore. And the finish as well, like, it doesn't really matter what skin type you have. I feel like this could work for you because you can mix it to your liking. I'm actually going to be using 2 different concealers as well. The first being the Photo Finish Concealer by Wet n Wild. I'm in shade, I think, fair, whatever is the lightest shade, as always. And then I'm also going to follow that up with the Bare Skin Complete Coverage from Bare Minerals. This is actually my first time using this Wet n Wild concealer, so we will see what happens. I'm putting the Bare Minerals concealer underneath where I put the Wet n Wild, and that's going to help it blend in with my foundation color better because it's a tad bit darker than the Wet n Wild shade. To set all of that liquid foundation and concealer, I'm going to go in with the Makeup Forever loose powder, and this is the Ultra HD one. I know that they just came out with pressed powders, but I kind of still just prefer this powder. And if you are worried about flashback, I would not use this honestly, because you could get a white cast. That's how it is with most HD powders. Then I'm going to go into the lightest shade for a little bronzer and kind of warming up my face. I'm actually going to take a little bit of a thinner and smaller fan brush. This is just like an anonymous kind of brand one. I got a bunch of stuff for free and only had to pay shipping and handling. So this is one of the brushes that came out of that haul that I put on my Facebook. I'm going to be taking the deepest shade out of the palette for this. What I've been actually doing instead of making a line is just going in the middle of my bronzer, and it looks really flawless that way and more like a shadow than a line. For blush, I'm actually going to be going into one of e.l.f.'s newer palettes. This is their illuminating face palette, I think is what it's called. I did a full face of e.l.f. tutorial and featured this in there. I'm going to be using the peachy shade out of this palette and my Japanesque brush, which I don't see too many other people using this for blush, but I think it works for anything on your face. Anything. Going back over to our beautiful Morphe palette, I'm going to be using the lightest shimmer shade in this palette for highlight everywhere. Inner corner, cheekbone, it's going to do it all. To start off the lower lash line, I'm going to go into this shade right here, which is a very milk chocolatey kind of warm brown. Then we are going to have a little bit of fun trying out one of the satin shades, and of course I'm going to go for the darker one of the two. I think they're both really beautiful, but this one especially. Look how pigmented these shades are. That's just a satin. And this is the gold that I was telling you that I had been using. I mean, my God, I die for this palette. I'm just going to add a little bit of this into the outer corner, making sure I go all the way in there. Oh my God, these satins are beautiful. This would be such a pretty shade just to throw on your lid and go out the door in. My setting spray and add a little bit more highlighter right before it dries because I'm sick and twisted like that. No. What?
Can you pause it?
Yes, I can pause it. For lipstick, I'm actually going to go back to something that I used to really love, and I thought I had all the nudes, but then I picked out this shade, and it is gorgeous. This is one of the Vivid Matte Liquids by Maybelline, and it's in shade Gray Envy, not to be confused with the gray shade they have. This is a gray nude. Isn't that beautiful? This could go with any look you would want to do, and these are, you know, super creamy and moisturizing. They're not like the longest wearing liquid lipstick. I wouldn't even honestly classify them as a liquid lipstick, but I still really love the formula. Okay, you guys, this is the completed look. That palette is absolutely beautiful. That's why I decided that I had to feature it on my channel as soon as I could. I don't know how fast it has come around YouTube yet, but hopefully I have this video out in a couple days, all edited and ready and good to go for you guys. I really love the way this turned out, just the copper in it, but there's so much variety, even though it may just look like all browns and all golds. It's really so much more than that. The shades are very unique in their own way, and they really jump out and surprise you when you put them on your eyes. I feel like anybody could just have a really good time with this palette and get so much use out of it. I know that I'm going to, especially with summer coming out. I thought it was super funny of Morphe just to be like, oh, here's the palette. You know, because everybody else does so much advertising and build up and everything, and Morphe just like snuck one in on the sly to us thinking we wouldn't notice. I love you guys so much, and I hope everybody has a beautiful day. I'll see you next time.